Hi again, moms and dads. We're going to finish up this educational series on children who hate a parent with part 4. We're gonna pick up where we left at the end of part 3, which is this slide. And again, this is brought to you by Parental Alienation Survival Coach, which is part of the nonprofit organization Speak Worldwide. SPEAK stands for Stop Parental Emotional Abuse of Kids, and we're dedicated to disseminating all this information, all these facts from all these great family therapy experts who, you know, one day what we'd all like to do is help all of those who work with children in schools and courts and mental health to understand, recognize, and be able to spot what's happening to these children. So that's what we do through Speak Worldwide. We do educational presentations. This one is for you. This one is for parents. It's called Children Who Hate a Parent, and it's dedicated to you, the parents who love them. So we'll pick up from part 3, and we'll continue now with part 4. What happens to the emotional health of a child who is taught to hate a parent and therefore hate a huge part of themselves? They suffer from having had to suppress their authentic self. Along with the learned hatred of a parent, these poor children learn to be ashamed of themselves, of their own emotions, of who they are, and they cannot fully become who they were meant to be. And that alone can have grave consequences. So let's just use an example of what I mean by that. We've already gone through parts 1, 2, and 3 and talked about how the unhealthy parent cannot approve or encourage or even condone anything that the child thinks or feels that that parent doesn't agree with. So let's say the child loves dancing, and let's say he's a boy and he wants to go into dance, and let's say the mother is the abusive one and she doesn't want him to, so she'll call him names. You're a sissy, you don't want to go into dance, that's not for men, that's for women. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this can happen. But this is just one example, and sometimes it's not, you know, I don't want you to think that anybody who's told not to dance is in an alienated situation. But that's something where the child will then feel ashamed. This is something they felt good about. This is something they were meant to do. Well, this is what I mean. They will never fully become who they were meant to be. Now, let's say it's something different. Let's say that child wants to golf, and the father is an amazing golfer and wants to take him golfing. And the mother might say, oh, golfing, you know, that's a stupid sport. That's not athletics at all. There's nothing to it. I want you to be, you know, a wrestler or a football player, whatever it might be. But especially if it's something that the other parent, you know, the rejected parent loves, and it's a trait from the rejected parent. Let's say it's art, you know, and then the child is producing great artworks. Well, that other parent might say that's not good. You're no good. You're trying to be like your mother, or you're trying to be like your father. I mean, they'll use any disparaging terms they can, and the child ends up, you know, not fully becoming who they were meant to be, because, you know, they were taught to associate fear and shame with certain talents, attributes, and traits and gifts inherited by the healthy parent, and now they have only disdain and disgust for that parent, and so therefore they feel disdain and disgust for themselves for having those qualities. This is a really serious mess that these children are in, and you know, I wish that we could all make it stop. It's very hard to stop because it's being done by an unhealthy parent, and we can't fix that part. So, you know, if you're still going through your struggle and you're still going through your court battles, you want to do everything you can to remove the child from this abusive situation. Children who hate a parent, how can they love themselves when they were indoctrinated to hate half of themselves, their other parent, the good, healthy parent? How can they love themselves when they were taught to hate half of themselves? They often develop severe self-hatred, and that can lead to a lot of problems, including clinical depression, suicidal tendencies, hazardous self-medication in the form of substance abuse, and any other high-risk behaviors. You know, oftentimes when a child gets involved in these high-risk behaviors or substance abuse, it's because they're trying to medicate their hurting soul. And it's important that we as alienated parents try to get beyond our hurt and our hurting souls, because we have to help our kids think about how hurt they are and how much they need us. And even if they're not in your life now, and even if it's been many years, there may come a time that you're reunited with them, and you can't be stuck in hurt. You know, you have to get beyond it and live a healthy, meaningful life, because if you're stuck in there, how can you help them if they ever come back to you? And yourself, you know, it's important only for yourself as well, and that's why we do some videos on taking care of you. Very important that you take care of you. All right, so let's move on. They learn, children who hate a parent learn to adopt the unhealthy border cystic splitting behaviors and traits. The psychological term for this is transmission, and children must be rescued from the cycle of abuse before it's too late. So there is something called transmission. Again, very, very sad, underscores the reason why your children have to be rescued from this situation. Transmission is when they're unhealthy, border cystic, again, my made-up term, border cystic traits, which are the traits of a borderline or narcissistic parent. We've got splitting, we've got zero empathy, we have, you know, all the things that we mentioned. The kid has those transmitted onto them. They start to behave that way towards people too. So unfortunately, the children get really, really damaged. And it's not really that they inherit these traits, but these traits are transmitted to them through, you know, role modeling. That's their parent, and that's the way their parent treats the world and everyone in it. And the kids start to do it too. Again, this underscores the reason why they have to be taken out of that situation. They must be rescued before it's too late. So, you know, I avoided using the term parental alienation throughout this. I mean, I used it a little bit, but I did not entitle this presentation Parental Alienation, because it is known by many other terms as well. But border cystic splitters produce children who hate a parent, okay? It's also called attachment-based parental alienation. That's Dr. Craig Childress's term, and he's one of the leading family therapy experts. Simple parental alienation is just the second part of Childress's. It used to be called parental alienation syndrome, but we're dropping that. Pathogenic parenting is another term. Family bond obstruction, psychological child abuse. And again, my organization, SPEAK, basically refers to it as that, because SPEAK stands for Stop Parental Emotional Abuse of Kids. So we're talking about abuse of children. Okay, so it's psychological child abuse of your kids. And then this term, some of these other terms came from a term that was introduced by Dr. Richard Gardner in the 80s called parental alienation syndrome. And he fought very hard to have parental alienation syndrome included in the psychological manuals called the DSM. That never happened, and because the fight was all about trying to get it in the manual and not being successful, many people believed then and still believe that this is not a real syndrome. It's not a real problem. What Dr. Childress does, it ties it with attachment-based issues in that sick, unhealthy parent, and he uses only existing psychological constructs that are accepted by the whole, you know, mental health community. So that's why we try not to say parental alienation syndrome anymore. We're trying to, you know, introduce a new paradigm and a new way to talk about this horrible abuse, a way that's already in the psychological manuals. Children who hate a parent need to be immediately removed from the sphere of influence of the abuser. They need to be taught how to love both parents and not hate, reject, fear, or erase any healthy emotionally family members who love them. And they need a safe environment with a healthy parent, a therapist, and time to recover from the abuse before being reintegrated with the abuser. So hopefully there will come a day when lawyers and judges recognize this entire, you know, educational process that we just went through, but especially this, that the kids need to be immediately removed. And there is places to go, and there will be more of them, because the more we educate, the more there will be places for them to go, where the you know, where the team approach is to help the child recover from the abuse and then reintegrate them into a loving relationship with that parent. So They need a safe environment for that. And there are places that do it currently, and there will be more and more. So they need a form of reintegration or reunification. Therapy, I don't want to get hung up on that word. You know, it might not be therapy. It might be like a 12-step program. It might be something more along those lines. But they really do need a safe place and environment to get over this. And there are some that exist now. That's not something that we currently do. But there are teams of people in the mental health community that can point you to places where the child can restore a relationship with you, the healthy parent who has been missing their child all this time, and then to re-enter a relationship with the splitter. Children need both parents. And that concludes part 4 of our presentation on children who hate a parent and how it happens and why it happens. And we hope that that has been, you know, helpful to you, moms and dads. Parental Alienation Survival Coach, once again, is part of SPEAK, Speak Worldwide, and it stands for Stop Parental Emotional Abuse of Children. Of children, not abusive, of children. But we don't use the O in our SPEAK acronym. We just do SPEAK. And you can look for more information on speakw.com, our website. So we thank you for listening, and we hope that this education helps you to understand what's going on, and hopefully will help you to start moving in the right direction on you know, how to move forward in your own life and how to help your child and get them rescued from what really is psychological abuse. So we're looking forward to a day when all the courts recognize this, and lawyers and you know, court workers and mental health workers and school guidance counselors. And that's where we come in with Speak. We want to get out there and do this education. There's plenty of other organizations that are dedicated to educating anybody that works with children, and that's one of the things that we do. So the more we educate, you could share these presentations with anybody who you know who works with children. We would appreciate that. I think the entire parental alienation awareness movement would appreciate that. Help everyone else to understand. So thanks for listening, and hang in there, moms and dads. Stay strong. You're not alone.